I'll tell you. Okay, we got a doctor reacts to Amon-Ra St. Brown's ankle injury. Now, I didn't see the injury. Hopefully, I get a
Amon-Ra St.
idea
Brown
of
left
what's
today's
going
game against the
on.
Packers early after suffering an injury to his ankle, and in this video we'll review the play and talk about how
From this angle, I would assume his ankle got rolled. That's the only thing I could assume. So that'd be a sprain. But I'm gonna let him keep going.
concerning this may or may not be for one of the top receivers in the league. Welcome back, everybody. I'm Dr. Brian Suter, and the goal in this channel is to teach you more about the medical side of the sports world. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Hope you're enjoying some time with family and friends. I've got my big dinner coming up later today, but let's take a quick look here at Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's officially listed as questionable with an ankle injury. I'm recording this at the early part of the second quarter, but let's talk about why I'm overall not as concerned as we otherwise might be based on the position of his foot and his ankle. So the big thing when you think of and see somebody that gets rolled up on, number one, you're going to be
Okay, so it got rolled. So, uh, I mean, depending on the sprain, he'll be out for a few weeks. Doubt he plays next week, coming off of a sprain that he had to leave the game for. So, uh, well, at least 2 weeks to minimum 2 weeks, depending on how severe it is. But even then, I ain't gonna lie, you don't come. A sprain doesn't fully heal after 2 weeks, but I say minimum 2 weeks, and then yeah, depending on how severe it is, definitely could be longer than that.
concerned about
Definitely.
something like a Liz Frank injury because of how a player can land on the backside of the heel, push force through the midfoot, cause a Liz Frank injury. We don't seem to see that at all here. And more importantly, we see the position of his foot as he's having everything kind of roll off of him here on the pile. And importantly, it looks like his foot is more internally rotated or inverted. So this is going to be his right foot here. And as we follow this whole play through, you can really especially tell, yep, right there is going to be his right foot. So pay attention to this position. You see how his toes are pointed this direction relative to his body. When the foot is internally rotated like that, that is going to put more potential stress on the lateral ankle ligaments for a typical inversion low ankle sprain, as opposed to if when this whole play had continued through, let's make this a little bit bigger so you can see a little bit better here. If let's say his toes had been pointed out in this direction, his foot had been externally rotated, that would change things entirely. That external rotation is going to put more force through the high ankle sprain ligament, the syndesmosis, that structure holding the fibula and the tibia together. And that would be a much more concerning position to see in terms of injuries. So here again, as we pay attention to that foot, it looks like there's more inversion in the ankle rather than an external rotation, which would lead to more of a high ankle sprain. What we can't see in here through all this is how much this Lions player landed on the backside of St. Brown's heel. Because if the foot is plantar flex, meaning the toes are pointed into the ground, the heel is up, and then somebody lands on the back of the heel, that can impart this shearing force through the midfoot and can lead to a Liz Frank injury, which is going to be even more concerning than your high ankle sometimes. So the report of an ankle injury, presumably they're not worried about his foot. Based on what we're seeing with that foot being pointed inwards, I think that's best case scenario. So when I talk about these lateral ankle ligaments and inversion sprain, what I'm referring to are going to be these three ligaments here on the outside of the ankle, the ATFL, the CFL, and the PTFL sitting deeper back here. There's also going to be two key tendons, the peroneus longus and brevis, that run from way up by the knee, wrap all the way down around behind the lateral malleolus, and then travel down the insert at the base of the fifth metatarsal, and the longest wrap underneath the foot to go over to the base of the first metatarsal. And so these are going to be the ligaments that are typically injured with a sprain, similar to what we saw positioning-wise, at least as the play followed through with St. Brown. Of course, in these positions, you can also suffer injury to these peroneal tendons. There's a little sheath you can see here that keeps those tendons in place. Sometimes that can tear. Kristaps.
So crazy how intricate the body is, and how all of these little things are underneath our skin. This is wild.
Porzingis, I believe, was a good example of this in the NBA, where then those tendons can dislocate in front of the fibula. So there are other injuries aside from just a sprain that can occur when you have that inversion, but I'm at least reassured seeing the inversion position and not the external position, which would put more stress on his high ankle. Presumably by halftime, they're going to have x-rays. They'll know if there's a fracture. I would be surprised. I think we can go either way here. I think we might see him come back this game. Really depends on a pain control. If this is truly just an ankle sprain once they've ruled out fracture and no concern for the tendon injuries. Hopefully he avoided something serious long term, and hopefully this was interesting to take a closer look at what we observed and talk about possibilities. Thanks as always for watching.
So what is his expectation on him
It really
missing
depends
time?
on a pain control. If he's surprised, I think we can go either way here. I think we might see him come back this game. Really depends on a pain control.
So he didn't come back this game. So it's gonna be. I would safely assume that he's not coming back next week either. Safely, but uh, pretty sure they're gonna get an MRI, get it looked at, and figure out how severe it is. But a high ankle sprain, bro. If it's like mid, again, like I said, I think a couple weeks. If it's a high ankle sprain, though, those take to fully heal. They take a while. But I mean, maybe you can come back within 4 game span, maybe. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Y'all let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If y'all get more information on this, or MRI does come out, y'all drop it in the comment section. But subscribe, stay tuned, stay blessed.